And 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Giggle and Grow
with Morgan
and Courtney. We're here.
We're so excited.
We made it, guys. Other than the hailstorm outside my house right now.
No,
that's
seriously. I was worried about my windshield.
It's pretty crazy out there, but we made it. We're here. We're excited to chat about today's topic. And that topic is self-care, your perfect self-care day.
How do we craft that, and what does that look like for each and every one of us? I think that looks a little bit different. So
yeah, some tips and tricks and some reasons why we're probably not doing what we want to do.
Right? Me?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think when it comes to self-care, truly, I think really it all begins with intention, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think intention is super, super important. Having that clear intention of having that me time, saving that time for self-care, whether it's in the morning, the nighttime, whether it's on a Sunday, whether it's on a Monday, right? And really aligning with those activities that fill your bucket up, that really make you feel fulfilled in who you truly are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that biggest thing about self-care is being able, again, setting those intentions and holding yourself responsible for doing it. Because
Absolutely.
a lot of the times we're just like, here's my intention. And then you're like, well, I intended to do that, but I didn't do it. you know? And then you're like, okay, well, whatever, I didn't do it. So instead of just whatever, I didn't do it, hold yourself accountable for a self-care day. You know, one of my favorite things to do, even though I don't have a bathtub right now on a self-care day, is having a bubble bath, reading a book, and maybe a mocktail or a glass of wine, depending on how spicy I feel.
That sounds nice. Can I be a part of that?
Yeah, right. The hot tub. We'll just make it a whole girls hot tub self-care day. Let's do it.
I love that. I'm all down. Call me when it's time.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think for me too, for me to ultimately calm down is I need this hailstorm. I need the rain. I need the storm. I feel like I can put on my movies, binge watch them all day long. Of course, I have my book, my coloring book, my iPad all near me. So if I get a little bored, I already know exactly what I'm turning to.
Yeah.
But that's a way for me to kind of relax my mind and know that I have everything right there ready to go.
That's a great self-care day. You said coloring book. I used to do coloring books. I haven't done them in so long.
It was my childhood thing. It was actually back in college where they were like, if you are struggling to find different activities that really feel like self-care, go back to what you did as a child.
Oh,
and I love coloring.
That.
Coloring books were my thing. So, and it really does. It brings your childlike playfulness back out, and it's fun. Get those coloring books. Get those pens.
Unplug your phone and your TV and just color.
Absolutely.
And see how you feel after that.
But I think with all that to say, I think everyone's self-care day or their routines all look a little bit different. So
I agree.
And I think often when we do see social media and we often see other people's lives and what they're doing every day, we automatically think that we're behind, and we automatically think that if we go and do those exact things that they're doing, that we're going to have that perfect routine. We're going to feel great. It's going to be our perfect self-care day. And I think that often leaves us feeling without an empty bucket. I think it makes us feel confused and not knowing who we are because we're just doing what others want or what they're doing.
Yeah, you're just doing what somebody else is doing. You're not you're not making an intention. Like maybe your intention is there, but it's not directed towards you, right? And your best self. And so figuring out what works for you, like coloring books, painting, doing little things like that and adding that in, I think will be very life-changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I even one of my best friends, when he moved to Colorado with us, he was even talking about just the kind of activities that he used to do and how so much he wasn't doing that anymore. And it's been a couple years now, but he immediately was like, I love Legos. I'm going to go get all the Legos that I bought. Yes, he loves Marvel. So he's trying to kind of build his collection up. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that could be your self-care routine. If you love Legos, go get yourself some Legos, right?
But I think the emphasis of that flexibility in the kind of activities you like to do or wanted to discover, you have to allow yourself to be willing to take a taste of that in order to know if it's something that's meant for you or that you really do enjoy.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I want to talk about why we fail at self-care.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to unpack there, ladies.
Absolutely. And I think with that, it often, we might feel like we're doing good, but that does come with failures too.
Mm-hmm. We might feel like we're doing everything we can, and then everything that we're doing ends up being wrong. But like, that learning that is wrong, or not wrong, or just not for you, and changing it, that's the lesson right there. I mean, that's everything that you can want for when learning about yourself and what you like in self-care and how to improve your life, right? And I think it's not easy, but we can feel guilty for taking time to ourselves. And it's like, don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about taking a moment to just unwind and be there for you and be, with yourself.
I know for me, that was something I've been growing with in the last couple of years. Back in college, I felt achieved when I was go, 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 go. I felt like if I was doing all these things, that I never had time for me, that I was successful, and that truly, that led me to burning out. And I had to learn that really taking a step back for me was to offer that self-care time, that me time, finding those ways to do so. And when you start doing that, you can be successful in both areas. You really can.
Yeah. So I want to dive into burning out a little bit. Why do you think people, first of all, I mean, we kind of understand why people burn out, but like, what do you think somebody needs to do to get out of it?
I think it's often awareness at first. I truly do. I think it's realizing, okay, I don't feel like myself. I'm pushing myself to a limit that I haven't felt before. And I'm not finding joy in the things that I used to. And when you become aware of that, you realize that those things that you're doing maybe aren't meant for you, or maybe you are in the right place, but again, you're not saving time for yourself. And when your body gets so worn down, it's going to tell you before you might know even.
That's what I was going to say. Listen to your body and listen to yourself, because I think, take breaks.
Yes.
Working, like doing something for 2 hours straight. I mean, maybe that is, I would call that hyper-focusing. That's something that I am a masterpiece at, because I am ADHD, and people with ADHD, they hyper focus on things and you get really stuck. And I do think it is beautiful in ways. Just give yourself a large amount of time, like 30 minutes to do the work or do something, and then, give yourself a break. And I think that's really going to help prevent burnout.
Oh, absolutely. I think in your work life and your personal life. I know for me, I mean, work is easy to be go, go, go. But then, of course, you get home and you have all these things to do, this long to-do list. You have to work out. You have to make dinner. You have to eat dinner. You have to prepare for the next day. And by that point, you feel like, I didn't give myself time. I didn't have me time. But when you look back at your days, I'm going to tell you guys here right now, you will often find those 30 minutes you spent scrolling on your phone, that extra hour that you spent now on Instagram or
TikTok.
Course,
you could have used that.
You could have used that for your
self-care.
own time. Yeah.
And I think when we work in, I know that originally when we started this, we were like, self-care day. I think what the overall understanding that I'd like you guys to take away is, like, when you give yourself self-care in the day, and like you focus on, okay, instead of scrolling, I'm going to take this break and meditate for 20 minutes, or I'm going to take this break and journal for 10 minutes. And by incorporating all of those things in there, you're going to realize, okay, this is what I need on a self-care day, because these are the things that I do that I know are helping me and making me grow as a person. So now I'm going to take meditation, journal, sitting with my cats and playing with my cats, right? I'm going to those are all going to be parts of my self-care day, right? So
absolutely. And I think often too, it's not about needing a whole 24 hours or a whole day off of work to make it self-care. We can do that, like you said, after work, spending those extra 10, 20 minutes with our cats, or making the food that's a little bit healthier for us, finding that enjoyment rather than going straight to the TV, saying I'm tired, or going on your phone like we've said.
Yes, and I think, again, going back to setting that intention in your mind, saying I'm going to do this, like as you're listening today, like set that intention today, write it down, write in a journal, right? Set the intention of, all right, I'm going to do one thing for self-care tomorrow. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to do one thing for the next 3 weeks. No, just be like, tomorrow, I'm going to, instead of TikTok, I'm going to meditate. And the more you do that, or I'm going to do whatever makes me happy or feel like I'm taking care of myself, the more you do that, the more you're going to be like, wow, I don't feel as stressed anymore. My cortisol levels have gone down. You're like,
it's so true. Your nervous system isn't as high, feeling as high active as it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Does that
and
make
I'm
sense?
not perfect at it either. One of the biggest things that I am working on getting away from is TikTok, because that thing is addictive. And so I am really working on, like, instead of TikTok today, we're going to do this. Instead of that, we're going to do this. And some days I do great.
Yeah.
And then there are some days where I don't do so great. So, but I don't let that get me down.
Right.
You know, I just continue to care for myself in the moments that I am actually aware and be like, okay, I said my intention, I'm going to do it. Right.
Absolutely. Well, and of course, when you start to kind of break that habit and then you fall backwards a little bit, right? I think that's also often there to show us too that, having that little bit of failure, a little bit of doubt moment is actually, okay, I don't want to be there, right? I want to be back to what I was feeling a couple days ago, a few weeks ago. So it's a wake up call a little bit.
Yeah.
But what also kind of on this topic has helped me in setting those intentions for the next day. Often when I was working back at home, I felt like I was living the same day kind of over and over and over again, Monday through Friday. So the night before I started journaling, and I would set those intentions on what I wanted my day to feel like the next day. And I would often put those little self-care tips that usually made me feel better or greater, right? So usually I would be like, okay, I'm going to step outside for 10 minutes tomorrow during my break and I'm going to get some sunshine. And then after work, I'm going to go for a walk for 30 minutes because maybe I don't feel like working out today, or maybe I know I'm on my period this week. So I'm going to do a little bit of less exercise while still getting that movement that I need, right?
A walk.
Right, a walk. It's
that
the best.
will do it for you. That is actually great self-care too. And I always suggest, like, I will walk more. If I'm wanting to get more of a workout in, I'm like, okay, headphones in, we're walking, we're listening to music, we're going to the beat, right? But when I am like, okay, I've had a really hard day and I don't want to even get out of fucking bed.
Yep.
I don't want to get out of bed. And all I want to do is just lay in bed. I'm like, Courtney, just go on a walk. Don't take your headphones. Just go and like listen to nature and look around while you walk. And don't even time yourself. Just go for a walk.
Yep.
And it's two different types of self-care.
Yeah.
But one, I think, again, when you're doing these self-care activities, listen to yourself and say, and don't, because like sometimes I can be like, oh, I'm really strict. I got to do this. This is taking care of myself. It has to be this way. And it's
I was like that. I fell into that.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Maybe today it's just a walk, and maybe that walk was 5 minutes. Maybe that walk turns into an hour and a half, right? And it's you and just the outside rather than you and the music and, you know, I'm taking care of myself. I got to get the workout in, right? And kind of fall back into that slower pace mindset. So
absolutely. And self-care isn't about the shoulds. It's about what truly makes you feel good. So when you're catching yourself saying, I should do this, I should be doing that, remember that you're not having to do anything. It's what's going to make me feel better in this moment, or what's truly going to fill up my bucket once again that day. So yeah.
I like that. What's going to make me feel better in this moment, because that right there is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, some fun topics to also kind of go off that for maybe someone that might be in a little bit of a budget. You know, again, we've been talking a lot about the different types of self-care, and maybe you don't want to go buy a coloring book, or maybe you don't have the money to go out and buy that spa day that you need, or go get your nails done. But often we can still do those little things on a budget. And it's all about finding more so, I think, that comfort, that coziness that you love, right?
Hygiene.
Hygiene.
It's a Dutch word. I think I'm saying it right.
I don't know.
Sounds
honestly.
Japanese, but it's not. It's like Haiji or Huga. One of the two. Huga sounds a little more Dutch, but
I think something that my husband and I have really done is, I know we love to go out to eat a lot. It's not just about going and eating out and not cooking at home, but it's more of the experience of trying something new, having a little cocktail, having fun, not being home like we always are. But of course, when that all adds up, sometimes we're walking out of there with a $70, $100 order bill, right? So we often turn to more so going on picnics. So and we're getting into summer, so it's fun.
That's a good spring, summer date with your man, ladies.
And you can do it with your girlfriends too.
Yeah, your girlfriend.
It's a little bit more affordable. It's a little bit more fun even too. You guys go to the store together. You go buy a sub sandwich. You get your chips, your little snackies. You kind of have the whole shebang at that point, and then you go and have a lot of fun.
Oh wow, this cost me $25.
Exactly.
You're like, I would have to drink water at a restaurant to spend that much.
Exactly.
With inflation nowadays.
Exactly. Oh gosh.
Oh gosh. Did you guys know that engaging in self-care acts is clinically proven to reduce stress, increase happiness, eliminate anxiety and depression? So a lot of what we're preaching here and telling you, we're working on ourselves. We're not saying you have to be perfect at it, but do work towards it, because you will see benefits in your life and you will grow as a person, and you will be able to move forward the more self-care that you do, because you're going to find you're a happier person, I think, in the end.
Absolutely. And remember, seasons change too. You may like something for 3 or 4 months, and you might then feel like you don't like it anymore. And that's your time to go try something a little bit new. And as we've talked about a lot, I think when it comes to self-care activities, sometimes it takes getting uncomfortable to feel comfortable too. I know for me, it wasn't always easy to go pick up a new game that I haven't learned before, or, go and honestly, even coloring, when I was trying it out or trying it again back a couple years ago, at first I felt very silly doing it. And then I realized how much I enjoyed it after the fact. And it was just getting uncomfortable, feeling a little weird, to know I liked it. So
yeah, and I think that's a great part of what I think I've always said about growing is if you're not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to better yourself, like, you're not growing.
Right.
Because you have to go through a little bit of uncomfortable stuff to grow as a person.
Yeah.
I do want to say that too. I think, sorry. I do want to say that self-care is not only clinically proven to help with happiness and all of that, but it also helps you recover from setbacks.
Yes.
And that was something I wanted to, kind of go over in these last couple of minutes, is like, when was a time you felt set back, that you felt like your self-care routine really was just kind of like your comfort animal in a way,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any off the top of your head.
Ask that one more time.
So when is your so when was the time you had a setback that you were able to use your self-care tools and kind of bounce back from it or recover from that setback?
Yeah. And I know I've talked about this a very little bit on other episodes before, but I really struggled when I moved out to Colorado, away from family, away from friends, and was working from home. My husband was working at a job in office, and I was at home for about 10 hours a day. So when discovering that, I felt really alone, but I knew I wasn't alone. It was just, I had to figure out how to be okay with being alone. And that was truly by self-care activities. And it took time. It took a lot of time. But once I started leaning more into that alone time being more for me and more for my self-care, and not so much about, I'm not with anyone, I'm not doing anything, I'm being lame, all that negative self-talk we talk about, I think that's when I actually started to enjoy that time. Like, I actually missed it when I didn't have it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And I think too, when you're talking about working from home, I think this is actually a hot topic. Personally, I hated working from home every single day. And maybe people out there like to work from home and they just love it. But one of the things that I found that helps me not hate it is by having a separate room for your work and like having that office and that separate space for you to work, and then pull yourself when you're out of that room or you're out of that space, you're no longer in that work. Because when you don't divide the two of work and home, I think it becomes very difficult to work and stay focused. And I think that's why I didn't really like it, because now I have somewhere I can go in, an office, people I can be around, socialize. And I think that can be very tough. But that's one self tip that I'm going to say is have your workspace separate from your home.
I totally agree with that. I think you do have to learn how to separate the two. With that too, because I was someone that worked at home, I did sometimes bring some of my self-care activities into my office, and that was my coloring book. You know, when I working from a computer talking to people all day, I needed that something where it was just mindless. And so for me, it was coloring. It was just kind of taking that extra minute or two of free time that I had. And that actually filled up my bucket throughout the day, because I was doing self-care along the way. Same with, of course, I would also put on a podcast throughout my free time. I would put on jams. I loved jazz ambience. So lots of different things you can do that really it might feel like self-care to you. Again, got to twist and turn a little bit to find what works best. But
I like that. No, that's really great. I think that's I've never thought of it, and I should try it, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, so we have a few questions for you guys that we want to get out there. We want you all to respond if you listen to these questions. We're going to answer them ourselves, but we also want to hear from you. First question, feel free to write it down if you're not in a car. Don't write it down if you're in a car. But grab your paper and pencil and write them down, and reply, subscribe and comment below, and we'll go from there. So what's your favorite go-to self-care ritual, Morgan? And listeners, what is yours?
So my favorite is, like I said earlier, I need the ambience. I need the cloudy day, the rainy day. But I also love, of course, cozying up on the couch, having that home cooked meal that I made right beforehand, lighting a candle, setting that tone for just that cozy movie book night in. So
love that.
Yes. What about for you?
Okay, so my favorite self-care day kind of looks like full facial to myself. These are all products. This is in my own home. All products in my home, but I do my full face routine. I have red light therapy. I do all of that, and I just sit there and relax, and I then do a meditation, like a guided meditation. I try to do 20 minutes, and then hopefully some journaling. I don't, depends on the day.
Mine too. That's how I am.
Depends on the day. And then finishing, I would say probably with a nice movie, or I do love to play online chess.
Ooh, I haven't played that before.
It's fun. So I like online chess as if I don't want to watch a movie or stay engaged. I want to do a little bit more mind strengthening is kind of what I like to call it.
I like that.
I'll play a chess game, and I'll play over and over and over and lose until I win.
Gotta end with the win.
Yeah, right. I lose until I win. So, and if I don't win, I go to an easier level and I win. But yeah, that's my ideal self-care day. Next question, Morgan.
Yeah. So Courtney, how do you know when it's time to slow down? What do you do?
I don't always know, to be honest, but what I try to do is start with my breathing. And I really, I've talked about it before. I'm a meditation girl because I really think it helps you slow down. And I do try to do like a guided meditation on the Balance app, which I've talked about before. Or what I'll try to do is go for a walk and slow myself down. But biggest thing for me is honestly focusing on breathing and just being like, okay, what is the top of mind bothering me the most?
Yeah.
And I'll either do it or I'll force myself to slow down. I'll more than likely do it, but I will force myself to slow down and say, we're going to do this, but after we do this, you're going to have a moment for a meditation session, of course.
Yeah.
Very basic of me, but meditation is something that is great for me, and I've used it for a long time to slow down. But what about you?
I would definitely say I'm the same way. I don't often know too many times when to slow down. It's usually my body telling me beforehand, but usually my mindset, I mean, you can kind of start to tell when you're getting a little bit off track. For me, it's I get a little bit overwhelmed. I start to kind of focus on everything else in my life but what I truly should be doing, or not should, but what I'm wanting to do. And that often is me taking a step back. Usually it's a walk. If it's nice out, it's immediately a walk. I love the fresh air, the nature. It kind of forces me to still keep going while also taking that time for me. I think another thing too is usually honestly putting all my digital products away, or not digital products, but my phone, my iPad, all of them, and I will turn them all over and I will just go do something else in my house that often falls to cleaning. Have found out that cleaning can also be a sign of stress for me.
But
really? Yes, it can be. But that does calm me. I like a clean space. So if I can bring that back to me, then I can bring myself back.
If I can control this, I can control me.
Yes, it's the control aspect of that.
That's great. No, I love that. So last question of the podcast today, but want to end it with a bang. What does self-care mean to you?
I think self-care, again, is something that I had to learn over time. It wasn't something that I just grasped onto. So for me, it's knowing that I can't fill up other people's buckets without being able to fill up my own. And by filling up my own is offering that time to come into myself, my emotions, my feelings, how I feel about everything else going on in my life, having that kind of to-do list, all those things. I mean, it's just knowing that I need that time, that I'm going to take that time, I'm going to fill up my bucket, and then I'm going to put everyone else before me or after me.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good self-care. For me, what does self-care mean? It means I'm growing as a person.
Yes, I love that.
It means that I am slowing myself down.
Love that too.
It means that I am doing everything to improve my well-being.
Absolutely. Simple way to put it.
Anything that is, that's what I consider self-care.
Absolutely. I love that too. I love, as you can tell.
Well, I love our conversation today. And I think, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, follow us on Instagram, and learn more. We're going to keep spreading the love, but
we're happy to have you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
soon.